right, you guys, it's episode 44 of War Stories, and without further ado, I'm gonna get straight into it. So check it out, you guys. In my last episode, I went over a situation that happened in the Santa Clara County Jail between me and some of the correctional officers that worked in the jail. Basically, I caught an assault. Actually, I went into two separate incidents that derived from one single incident, and I told you guys there was a third and that I was gonna go over that in a separate episode. So that's what I'm about to do right now. Now, this one is a little bit more complex, and it involves none other than the scumbag Lencho himself. So let me kind of lay out the background of the things that were happening behind the scenes so you guys can understand what was going on at that time. So at this time in the county jail, this is 2007. Now, a lot of shit has happened since I obviously hit the jail in 2004. You know, I've already been indicted. A lot of lines have been drawn. You know, I got into the situation that happened in Area 51. For those of you that have read the book, those of you that have heard the story, you guys know what I'm talking about. And then I ended up coming back to an active tier with the fellas. This happened after me and Dancing Bear made contact with each other in Third West. Okay, so once I got back in South Max with the fellas up there, after I came out of Little Max, and I know a lot of you were probably like, what the fuck is he talking about? Little Max, South Max. Just follow me. Okay, so once I was back on the tier with Dancing Bear, Thavo, and some of the other homies that were on that tier at that time, I believe Smiley from San Jose was there, and that was pretty much it. So at one point, they moved the entire South Max down to Second East Max, another max tier. Now, when we get on this tier, I would end up staying on this tier for 17 months with Dancing Bear and some of the other homies that were down there. Monos from SJG was down there. Looney from SJG. Slimer was down there for a minute. Baby G from Metal Fair. Baby G from Metal Fair was down there. Thavo came down there from Brotherhood. Who else was down there? There was a lot of individuals that came through and left. There's a lot of homies that between that 17-month span, a lot of faces came and left. So, but those were the main ones that were there. Jerry Chavez, Bones was there, Stretch was there, Vinny was there from 12th Street. Short Day was there. I'm not sure what hood he was from, but there was a lot of homies down there. So anyway, at this time, there's a lot of shit going on within the household. Second East at that time was running the entire county jail. Now, at this time, I was on freeze. Obviously, I came back onto an active tier after the initial time I had went through all that bullshit that was happening between me and my co-defendants. So I'm back on an active tier with the fellas, and like I said, we stayed there for 17 months. Now, during this time, it was almost like I wasn't even on freeze. You know, technically, because of everything that had happened prior to this, I should have just been given my due respect and basically left alone. And the fellas up in the Bay knew everything that was going on. They were kept abreast of everything that had happened up until that point. They, you know, Dancing Bear had a clear line to Chuco and had basically used Jerry and Loco Tomas from, I believe, I want to say he was from Gilroy, had used those individuals to communicate everything that was going on, especially dealing with me. Now, they were completely on board with it. Let be, you know, I had seen one of the letters. I'm going to tell you guys like this. A lot of the homies that were on that tier with me were going above and beyond what they had to do to let me know that everything, a lot of the homies were pushing for me. A lot of the homies wanted to keep me, you know, to basically let it be known that, bro, you know, things are moving in the right direction. You know, we got your back and this is all going to work itself out. I already had confidence that things were, but at the same time, you know, I was also being realistic about the possibilities, which None of that had really nothing to do with this incident, but I'm just kind of letting you guys know what was going on at that time. So, like I said, I should have been just kind of put up on the shelf and left alone, but Dancing Bear's getting at me for advice. He's showing me reports that are going on. It's almost like I'm running the county jail and I'm privy to everything that's going on. This is kind of how it was. Dancing Bear's a lazy motherfucker. His penmanship is fucking terrible. You don't know how to run a household. He doesn't know how to make decisions. He doesn't know how to conduct investigations. So every situation that was occurring in the county jail, whether it was a removal, whether it was, somebody falling in bad standings, or whether it was somebody, a situation that had happened on the streets and, it needed to be looked into, or just, what do you do in this situation? What do you do in that situation? What would you do? Everything was coming before me. So he was sending me everything and I would look at it and then I give him my feedback and then he was kicking it out like he was doing it. That's how it was. Now, at the time, obviously, Dancing Bear was just passing through, and obviously he couldn't leave the county jail with me because of what was going on, which was understandable. I wasn't expecting him to leave the keys behind with me anyway. I was happy to be back amongst the fellas and just be given an opportunity, to be given the benefit of the doubt. I didn't give a fuck about running that household. I didn't care about nothing else. I'm looking at triple digits. I'm in a lot of trouble. And my whole thing is I just need to focus on fighting my case and just being back amongst the fellas. So, at the same time, though, while I was there, I had no problem giving, my advice about certain things, or, giving my opinion, or helping them with, running the household. But it shouldn't have been like that. I should have just been kept, like I said, on a shelf and just put on freeze, and that should have been respected. But it was like, man, I'm telling you guys, everything that was coming through Second East, and like I said, Second East was running the entire jail at that time, under Dancing Bear, so to speak. Dancing Bear was priming Stretch Up, another homeboy, Steve Martinez from San Jose. He was priming him up to leave because, Dancing Bear came through on an appeal and he was expecting to get out. So he was basically priming Stretch Up to take the jail. Stretch was just hermano. He was set up with Jerry Chavez, Bones from San Jose. So, these two knew everything that was going on. And, just to back up for a minute, Loco Tomas had an open line of communication with Chuco. Now, when he got at Chuco about my situation, Loco Tomas shot me the letter. He shot it in a box lunch underneath the spread that we were having that day. He was like, bro, I'm just showing you this letter, so that, just to put you at ease, bro, and just to show you that, everything's on the up and up. Nobody's trying to fucking play nobody out of pocket, and you're a good dude, B, and we're all pushing for you, bro. So he let me read the letter, and I read Chuco's response. It clearly said, let homie, we know everything that's going on because of the reports that Dancing Bear obviously sent up there. Let homeboy fight his case. Let him go through the motions, go through the all the motions of fighting the case. And once he gets up to the Bay, we'll look into it and those issues will get resolved one way or the other, which I was perfectly okay with. So, I checked out the letter. Loco Tomas sent me a kite. AB, I get hit for this. I'm breaking security, but bro, you seem like a good ass homie. You're solid, man, and I got love for you and all this and that. So that's kind of what was going on at that time. Now, another part of it is like, so there was so many of us in Second East that they ran 2 yards. Okay, I would go out to the yard with half of the homies that were down there, and some of the other homies would go to another yard because they just didn't want to put that many of us out there together on 1 yard. So When the homies next door to me, Looney and Manos, would go to the yard, fucking Gizmo. I'm gonna whoop his I'm gonna whoop his butt, man. So when Looney and Manos would go to the yard, they were right next door to me. What they would do is they were the secretaries on the tier. They had all the kites. Everything that was coming from Elmwood, everything coming from the fourth floor, everything coming from every part of the jail. They had a box lunch, and this box literally contained everything that was happening in the jail. Everything from, removals, investigations, every roster from every tier, every block, every unit, from Elmwood to the fourth floor to the old jail. Everything was in there. Now, when they would go to the yard, instead of doing what they were supposed to do, and that is passing that lunch down further down the tier this way to some of the other homies to secure for them, they sent it to me. Why? Because they didn't want to offend me. Straight up. I can't make this up. They would send it to me because, they didn't want to offend me. They didn't want to make it look like I wasn't being trusted. Now, you guys got to remember, man, just the situation that I was in. Now, I'm not going to say I was dealing with a bunch of dumb homies, but a lot of these homies were a lot less educated. A lot of them they weren't as sharp as, guys that had been up to the bay, they've been around. I was able, because of the situation I was in, what I'm trying to say is I was able to disarm every one of them on that tier and basically establish a rapport with them on an individual basis, each and every one of them. And I had to do that because, not because I was trying to, create a power struggle in the county jail, but I had to secure my surroundings. And I had to make sure that everybody around me was at least, they had my back. And I accomplished that. Everybody on that tier, I had an individual relationship with, where they were basically breaking protocol, whether it was sending kites, even Dancing Bear, but he's just a big dummy. He should know better as an NF member. We just don't do that. And it's not all about, hurting somebody's feelings or making them not feel, hey, you're on freeze, period. But, when I would get this box of kites, I would look at it. I would read these motherfuckers, not because I was trying to get this information and do anything foul with it, but because I had my ear to the ground. You guys got to understand the situation I was in at that time. I wanted to make sure that there was nothing in there about B, nothing in there that I needed to be, on my toes about. Whether it was, they were pushing some kind of foul agenda, whether there was something that I had to look out for that was upcoming in the future, anything. There was nothing in there. Well, there was two things. One, it basically was a communication between Stretch and somebody else, one of the other brothers on the tier, basically about, classification, gang intel in the county jail. Were under the belief that I was running the county jail, even though I was in the situation that I was in. They were like, they think B's running the jail. Let them continue to believe that, this way it keeps the heat off of us, which was smart, right? But that was the only thing. There was nothing in there like, hey, we're just waiting on the homie to get back before we try to slaughter this dude. Or there was nothing like that. So anyway, what ends up happening is Lencho ends up coming into the county jail. Lencho, Joker from VSJ, Joker from VSJ, and then Marcos Abundi's Weddle, another C. So Lencho and Weddle were both C's. Joker was just a good, solid hermano that had been around. I got nothing bad to say about Joker, got nothing bad to say about Weddle. It's nothing personal. There was a lot of other shit going on in the jail at that time. But anyway, it is what it is. So they came in, and before Lencho even came in, I already started to get it Dancing Bear. I already told him, because just looking ahead to the future, I knew that the chances of Lencho coming in were pretty good. He was out there on the streets. I was aware that the streets were hot at that time. San Jose, the streets were hot. We had all just got busted. They had all just they hit two other regiments. So I knew this dummy was about to get caught up. It was inevitable. So I was trying to prep for that possibility. And I would tell DB, bro, if this idiot comes into jail, he's gonna start pushing an agenda. So even though you got Chuko on board and the fellas up in the bay, he's gonna push an issue. Now I understand you're gonna leave the jail with Stretch and with Bones, Jerry Chavez. However, bro, let's be realistic about this. If this fool tries to push an agenda, these brothers can't stand up to a C. They can't do it. At some point, they're gonna have to stand down. So their voice is he's gonna basically shut them down. So what happens in that situation? What kind of contingencies are you setting in place for that possibility? Because bro, I just want to fight my fucking case, get the fuck up out of this jail as soon as I can, and be done with it, bro. Whether I get washed up in court, they end up giving me life, or if something changes and I don't end up getting a life case, but things work out somehow, some way. I just want to get through and get up to the bay where things could be looked at, and I get that due process that I have coming, or I'm supposed to have. So, DB's whole thing was, bro, when I get out, I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna look this fool up. I'm gonna get at him. I'm gonna let him know that he's not to be involved. If he ends up coming to the jail, to just leave it alone. It's not his business, that they're already taking care of it. It's already been addressed up in the bay. Wah, 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 right? So I'm like, bro, I didn't really feel like Dancing Bear had a real contingency set in place that was going to be respected. I felt like, I also felt like he's putting Stretch and Bones in a precarious situation. You're putting these brothers in a situation where they're going to end up getting deemed by this idiot for standing up. But he's seen it different. Dancing Bear, he's a different kind of individual. And, he's like, bro, don't trip. I got it. And I'm like, all right, bro, whatever happens, happens. So Dancing Bear ends up, he goes to court on his appeal. They end up cutting him loose. So boom, but Dancing Bear's gone now. Basically, he's the one that threw me a lifeline, but now he's no longer there in the county jail. So whatever happens now is going to happen either way. Lencho ends up coming in the jail, him, Abundis, and Joker. Soon as Lencho comes in, he starts pushing that fucking agenda, just like I knew he would. I mean, I seen it coming a mile away. And this was after Dancing Bear. Dancing Bear had gotten out. Stretch and Bones had touched base with him, and I had specifically told him, get at him about what we talked about and make sure he touched base with that fool. And, to make sure that dude knows if he does come to this jail, it's not his business, and to just leave it alone. And he relayed back, hey, let B know. Matter of fact, I talked to him. It was like, I got at him. He was like, hey, that motherfucker would rather French kiss a rattlesnake than to fuck with me, eh? He was on a good one. He was in the backyard drinking some fucking Southern Comfort or something. But he was telling me, yeah, I got at this fool, man. He's a weenie. He didn't want to fucking hook up with me. I finally hooked up with him, but I told him, I addressed it. So don't trip. I got you, bro. You know what I mean? I'm like, all right, man. So anyway, Lencho comes in. He starts pushing the issue. How do I know? Because every one of them homies that were in Second East, they like I said, I had an open line of communication with them. As soon as he started sending filters down there, they shot him to me. Check it out, B. This is what old boy's saying about you. And it was foul. Why is that fucking dude on the tier? Wah, wah, wah. And I'll be honest with you guys, man. When Dancing Bear threw me that lifeline and I was back on the tier with the fellas, I was like, man, it gave me a breath of fresh air that I needed. I still stayed, I was still pushing. I didn't give up. I was still like, man, I still had the belief that somehow, some way this would work out. So I never laid it down. when he gave me that lifeline, that was the breath of fresh air that I needed. It reinvigorated me. It was like, it's all good, man. This is all I've been asking for. So I felt like I was back on track. I didn't give a fuck about no life sentence at that time. I didn't. I was fighting my case. Joe Abeda was the last one. All my co-defendants had either pled out or they were in the midst of making deals. So everybody that got busted with me they had already left, they had already been convicted, or they were just getting ready to leave. So it was just me and Joe Beta. And at that time, we were trying to work a deal out with the attorneys where I was going to plead guilty for Joe Beta, for them to take if the deal is we were trying to get me to plead guilty so that they would take the life case off Joe, because how he got pulled in was just fucked up. He got pulled in for trying to assist me, but these are all separate issues. We're gonna go into all this in Inner Demons. I'm gonna break it all down later when I get there, but all this stuff was going on at this time. So anyway, fast forward a little bit. So they're showing me these kites that this fool's, sending them, hey, you guys better get this dude off the tier, otherwise it's gonna be you, and you guys are gonna have to, answer for it, and I'm gonna start stripping you motherfuckers and start throwing everybody on freeze down there. I'm taking the jail over. So he did everything that I knew he would. He took Stretch's voice, he took Bones' voice, he took their positions, he stripped them. So now he's running the jail. Cool. Well, before that happened, me and Stretch, we start communicating and we dialogue back and forth. Stretch gets at me. He's like, B, this dude is campaigning to try to come down to Second East. He's like, he's asking that you and I request classification used to walk the tier. They used to walk the tier like every other day to just walk the tier and just see who was on the tier and what was going on. It was a game that they used to play, coming on the tier and just to see what kind of vibe was down there. So anyway, he wanted me and Stretch to basically ask them, hey, can you bring Guzman down? Bring Guzman down. So when Stretch got at me and he's like, hey, the old boy's trying to get us to request to pull him down to Second East, Stretch was like, I think it's a bad move, B. I think it's a bad move, and I don't think we should do it. But I told Stretch, nah, bro, Stretch, I'd rather have this dude down here where I can watch him, where he's right here with me, than to have him over there. As long as he's over there, he's gonna continue to push this agenda. This dude comes on this tier, he's gonna fucking act like he's my best friend, and he ain't gonna push the issue. I promise you. But as long as he's over there and we're separated, he's gonna continue to push it. I told all them cats on the tier, Monos, Looney, Vinny, Bones, Stretch, watch when he comes down there. He's talking all this shit, and I'm not gonna break nobody's confidence. I'm not gonna tell him that none of you told me what he's saying. I'm just gonna act like a big old dummy, like I don't know what's going on. And I'll deal with Lencho myself, because there were certain things I needed to address with him, and I wanted to do it without throwing anybody else under the bus, but like he was coming from the streets. So, at the end of the day, Stretch stood, he stood down. He was like, fuck it, bro. If you want him down there, then fuck it. But I still think it's a bad move, B. But Nino and Lencho, I'd rather have him down there. So that's what we did. We started pushing. Hey, can you guys get Guzman down there? That's the homie right there. And class at that time, man, they knew every fucking thing that was going on. They knew everything. From homeboys were rolling, they were rolling over left and right. So when we would ask that, they just laugh and be like, for real? That's who you want to let you down there? And I even went as far as like, hey, you can move him in. I told one of the classification officers, move him in myself. Man, let him come in here with me. We've known each other. We got a lot of history. Please, man, let him come in here with me. Move him in with me. And they basically laughed at that. They're like, nah, that ain't gonna happen. But one of them claimed that they did ask him later, and that he was like, nah, I already got, I'm gonna try to get a Boondies in there with me. So he didn't want to sell up. There goes that thought. Trust me. Anyway, so we start pushing. Get Lencho down there. Get Lencho down there. Eventually, they said that they were gonna move him down. So the day that they moved him down, I like I said, I told the homies, I reiterated, watch, when he comes down there, he's gonna act like we're boys. You know what I mean? As soon as he gets on the tier, he's gonna want to fucking stop at my gate. What's up, boy? And all this shit, right? And I'm like, watch, man. I promise you, he'll come down there, and I'm supposed to be on freeze, right? I'm supposed to be this no good motherfucker, right? And all this shit's going on, and all this shit he's telling you guys. But I bet you he shoots me all kind of paperwork dealing with household business that he brought from the fourth floor. Let's see what happens. So here he comes, right? He comes down on the tier. I see his motherfucking ass. The way my door was, I could see to the right. So when he came through, I see him. Here he comes, right? So as soon as he comes down by my cell, he looks in the cell and he's like, "What's up, boy? What's happening?" On me, sticks his little pinky through my mesh, right? So I slap his friend. Yeah, what's up, bro? What's up, man? Yeah, long time no see, brother. It's all good, got now. You know what I'm saying? Bro, yeah, we've been trying to push for you, homie. I'm glad you finally made it, bro. When you get situated, I'm gonna holler at you, bro. So boom, he goes in his cell. He's down there on the tier. He moves 2 cells down. So the whole time, this motherfucking dirtbag is supposed to be in there. He literally throws his shit on his bunk, unrolls his shit, and he don't even clean himself. That's real shit. This dude did not even clean his cell. He literally was I was like, yeah, I'm gonna give you some time, bro, to go ahead and get situated. You need some cleaning supplies. I got you, bro. And I asked him, man, homie, you don't need nothing to clean this. He's like, nah, it's pretty clean in here, man. You know what I'm saying? And, okay. So he's on the tier. Like the first day, we're chopping it up like just nonstop. AB, AB this, AB that, AB this, AB that. AB, shoot your line. Shoot my line. Pull him back in. What is it? It's an investigation about a homeboy Green Eyes, that something that was going on in the jail with one of the homies named Green Eyes. Anyway, I read it, and he basically asked me, he's like, hey, check it out, give me your thoughts on it. This situation happened, and it's an investigation that I still need to address, bro. What would you do in this situation? Give me your opinion, right? So as soon as I get it, I fold it back up, tie it up, and I knock on my wall. I say, hey, Manos. I said, hey, down low, bro. I shoot it over to him. I tell him, hey, shoot that back when you're done. So I sent him a one time with it, and I'm like, what'd I tell you? What'd I tell you? What'd I tell you he was gonna do? I told you as soon as he hit this tier, he was gonna act like we were best friends. And what I tell you, he was gonna shoot some fucking paperwork. I'm supposed to be on freeze, right? I'm supposed to be this, everything he said and all his filters, right? Look at this dude. But I just wanted you guys to see. This is how fake this motherfucker is. You know what I mean? So anyway, they send it back and they're like, damn, you know what I mean? Straight up, bro. So anyway, around this time, literally it was probably a day or two after he got there, my wife ends up passing away. She died. Lupus ended up finally taking her. And I know that it was because the situation that I got myself in, and it was because I was back in jail and that I wasn't out there with her. And I think she just knew I wasn't coming back, because the thing about it is, I wasn't trying to run the phone bill up at that time. I wasn't, I didn't want to call her because it just put another expense on her that she didn't have. She was financially, nobody was helping her. You know what I'm saying? The fellas weren't doing shit for her. I was catching cases trying to get her money to help her, because like the homie's supposed to look out for your family, and our family are supposed to be our purest reflections and all this. Man, nobody was doing shit to help. So, I hadn't talked to her in like a month. I would write her, but I didn't call in like a month and a half. And that Friday, one of the homies like, hey B, he was like, I had the phone. I just so happened to have the phone just to keep my slot open. That's why I used to get it, not to use the phone, just to have my slot open. He was like, hey, you want to use a three-way? He was like, it's all good, bro. The homegirl, she's got a three-way. Go ahead and use it, bro. And I'm like, nah, I'm good, homie. I'm good. And he's like, nah, go ahead, bro. It's like, bro, it's like, might as well use it while we got it, right? He's like, that's what she does. It's a burner, right? So I'm like, man, fuck it. Fuck it, man. So I call my wife, and as soon as I start talking to her, I could just hear, um, it sounded like her lungs were filling up with fluid, and it was. She was dying, and we talked, and I was like, damn, man, you gotta start taking care of yourself, man. If you expect me to continue fighting this case, and you want me to fight to get back out there, you gotta do what you need to do to take care of yourself. Otherwise, this is all gonna be for nothing. And we talked. I think I even called her back a second time, and I could just hear her coughing, man. And the last letter she wrote me, it hurt. Even her handwriting had changed. It was like she was going through it. And the next day, she passed away. The next day, I get a visit from gang intel classification, and they come on the tier, and they're like, hey, we need to talk to you. And I'm like, if you got something to say to me, you can say it right here on the tier. And they're like, nah, we need to talk to you. And I'm like, nah, man, you can't just come on the tier and pull me out like that. You know what I'm saying? Gang intel. And one of them he was just trying to look out for me because he found out, he got a call. They called the jail, and that's who they put on the phone. And the message was relayed to him. So, he basically was putting himself out there because technically he ended up getting in trouble for doing something that the chaplain should have did. But, I guess he wanted to be the one to let me know. So eventually he was like, man, I need to talk to you, and it's about something serious, man. So that perked my interest right there. So I was like, fuck it. So I cuffed up. So he takes me downstairs, and we go down to the multi-purpose room, and he's like, hey man, he's like, I hate to be the bearer of bad news. He's like, I'm probably gonna get in trouble for overstepping my boundaries and telling you this because really, it's somebody else's responsibility. But just being familiar with you, you've been here for a while, and seeing some of the things that you've been through in the jail. He's like, I just felt like, I wanted to be the one to tell you since it was relayed to me on the phone. He's like, Vicky passed away last night. And man, when he told me that, it crushed me. You know what I'm saying? I was like, I'm done, man. You know what I mean? I'm done. I'm done fighting this case. I'm gonna plead guilty, get my co-defendant off. I was tired. I was already tired of dealing with the politics in the jail. I was tired of dealing with just a lot of shit that was going on at that time. I was tired of being there. I had been there already for almost, like, at that time it was close to 4 years. 4 years still a long time. I would end up being there almost 10 years. But when he told me that, it was just like, I got nothing left out there that I care about besides my mom and my grandmother. And then right after that, my mom passed away. And then my grandmother passed away. So I was like, I just felt defeated, man. I felt like there was nothing else left out there. Like, I was being punished for something. Um, so right after that, right, I'm like, okay, he was like, I appreciate it, man. You know what I mean? He takes me back up to my cell. They try to put me in later on that night. They actually try to put me in an observation cell because that's standard procedure. They want to put you on fucking suicide watch. I'm like, man, just leave me the fuck alone. I don't need to be on no suicide watch. I don't need to be on no dumb shit like that. Ain't nobody gonna kill themselves, but just leave me the fuck alone, man. Let me just leave me alone. You know what I mean? I just wanted to be left alone for a couple days, man. It devastated me though. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. So that was going on at that time. Right now, right after this, I get this news. So Lencho's still new on the tier. He's still fucking new, you know. Even though it that shit whooped me, I knew I had to pick myself up, dust myself off, and keep pushing. I knew that I couldn't allow this to just, to just devastate me like that. Even though it did, I still had to keep fighting, and I had to keep pushing, man. So, I took my 2, 3 days and dealt with it my way, and I continue to push forward. Now, Lencho still being new on the tier, this dummy was still learning the routine down there. He was still learning like when they come through and when they do count and when they do all, you know, we had tobacco down there and he smokes like a fucking train. You guys remember the, some of the stories I told you guys about how he used to smoke like a train in Quentin and all the other homies would be hurting, but he'd be the only one smoking. Well, my biggest mistake was when he came down there was shooting him tobacco. So on this day, this particular day that this situation happened, I send him a couple cigarettes. He twists them up, and then he's like, "Hey B," he's like, "You think right now is a good time to blaze? Should I fire up right now?" I'm like, "Nah, bro, nah, it's not a good time, bro. They're gonna come through within the next 30 to 40 minutes. The nurse is gonna come through and do meds, bro. So just wait until she does her walkthrough, and then after that, you're good till dinner, right? Just tie off, bro." So he's like, "You don't think I could just take like a hit or something real quick?" Nah, bro. Well, homeboy, we at that time we had a batch of wine going. We had a batch of wine going. It's not that I was tripping off losing the wine. There was still contraband on the tier. There was still, a lot of stuff that we stood to lose, behind making a boneheaded decision like that. We knew what time they were going to come through. We knew the routine. So, bro, why can't you just wait? So anyway, I tell him, "Nah, just tie off, homie. Just chill, bro. They're going to come through anytime." So anyway, 5 minutes later, I smell tobacco. I'm like, "Bro, tell me you didn't fire that up, homie." He's like, "Man, I just took a quick fucking, a quick couple quick tokes real quick and put it out." And I'm like, "Bro, Lencho, they're gonna come through, homie." Whatever, bro. So not even 2 minutes after I tell him that, front gate opens up. I'm standing on my gate and I'm watching. I'm watching the CO come down the tier with the nurse. He's making his way down. And he gets within like 4 cells. There's like 4 cells down. He's giving this cat his meds. I see him. Like he smells tobacco. He don't say nothing, but I see his nose fucking twitching around, right? I'm like, "That's it, we're done. We're done." And this particular CO wasn't cool. He was the kind of CO that I knew was gonna go out there and fucking throw us on blast. And that's exactly what he did. As soon as he skirted off with the nurse, I'm like, "Homeboy, I told you to wait, bro. Now because you did what you did, they're gonna come through. We're about to get fucking tore up right now." So guess what, man? I'm gonna send everybody their issue, and I couldn't believe he did that. I was pissed, man. So I go into fucking wine. I start sending everybody their shit. Hey, fucking strain this shit yourself. You're getting kicker, patada, everything. So I sent them all their fucking issue. I sent it all to them. And sure enough, boom, gate flies open. Here they come, 20, 30 deep. All right, you guys, everybody, strip out, cuff up. Don't touch nothing. Everybody had their issue. Everybody was like, "Fuck you." You know what I mean? I'll cuff up when I'm done drinking my shit. So everybody's standing there. All the homies are drinking. We're all drinking our shit. There's wine everywhere. Fucking the whole tier smells like fucking Beasto. It reeked in that motherfucker. Everybody's just drinking all this shit up. So when everybody was done, start cuffing up one at a time. He cuffs up over here, the homie cuffs up over there. He's done with this shit. So they pull us all out. And they put us in the dining room in the chow hall. For those of you that been to the Santa Clara County Jail, if you've been to the snake pits, the chow hall that you guys go to, that's where they put us at. We were in Second East Max. We were in Double Red. So they took us in there and chained us down to the fucking tables. So we all walk in there. We all go in there. Homies are all drunk. Looney is drunk as he was so drunk that I'm telling you guys, I made fire, man. But he was so drunk that he was cuffed to the chair. He fell back and he fell on the floor and he couldn't get up. He was stuck laying there. Everybody's laughing at him, but I'm like, man, this shit right here it's a shit show. Like we don't usually get out like this, man. You know, shit's probably getting out of hand. We're drinking too much. We're fucking slacking in security. You know what I mean? It's just crazy, man. Plus, you know, I'm still dealing with the loss of my wife, right? So I'm pissed off now that they're in my cell, tearing my shit up. We just got hit 2 days before this. I'm pissed off that Lencho did what he did. I'm pissed off that that whole situation's going on with him behind my back, and he thinks I don't know about it. So, you know, I'm sitting there and I'm mad, man. I'm mad as fuck. And at that time, I had my swells on. Anybody that was there with me in Second East knows. So I needed double cuffs, but they only put one pair of cuffs on me, and I was cuffed behind my back. So it got to the point where I needed my cuffs, loosened up. And I told one of the, hey man, loosen my cuffs, man. These fucking cuffs are too tight. You know, I need another pair of cuffs or something. Put some belly chains on me, man. I'm supposed to have two pairs of cuffs. So one of them asked the sergeant, and I guess the sergeant told him he couldn't do that. So that just set me off, man. It set me off. Now I'm pissed off at the sergeant. But I think I was just looking for a way to get rid of some of the negative energy I was feeling. I was everything just felt like it was coming down at the same time. My case, the losses that I just went through on the streets, you know, the shit that was going on with the fellas, the internal politics, the betrayal, you know, me trying to fucking stay loyal, and then I got these individuals campaigning against me. Everything was just, I was getting hit from all different directions, man. And when they finally came through the chow hall to get us, to bring us back to Second East, you know, my aggressions turned on the sergeant. So when I got up and I started walking out, and I was buzzed too, I'm not gonna lie, I was lightweight drunk too, man. I slammed like 3 tumblers real quick. So when I started walking out of the chow hall, the sergeant and all these cops are lined up against, they're all in front of a podium. It's a podium that's right where the CO sits, and there's 2 observation cells right there. When I walked out, I told the sergeant, I said, hey man, I told him something along the lines of, hey, you better quit fucking with us, man. You want some type of racial bullshit, you know, something. But I was just trying to pick a fight with the dude. I was completely, he was a cool sergeant. He wasn't really fucking with us. Lencho's dumbass is the whole reason why we got hit. We fronted them off, man. So, you know, they're doing what they do. When you front them off, that's what happens. So I made a comment to the sergeant and he ignored me. And that even just made it worse. The fact that he didn't say nothing, I started to walk away. But then I was like, you know what? Fuck that. I turned around and I rushed the sergeant. I rushed him. And as soon as I rushed him, I got rushed by like 6 different COs. We start fighting. They take me down. I just start going off, man. You know what I mean? I did, again, whatever I could do with chains on, which is, again, a whole lot of nothing. And, you know, they did like they did me before, man. Again, this is like the 3rd fucking time. Picked me up, took me downstairs, but they put me in a fucking chair at that time too. Again, they put me back in that chair, strapped me down to the chair, and you know, I would stay in that chair. I could have had a lawsuit on them because I stayed there for 8 hours. And they're only supposed to keep you in that chair for like 4 max. A lot of people, even in the jail, were telling me, bro, you should fucking file. You got to sue straight up, you know. But I was upset about, you know, the things that were happening outside of the jail. That's where most of the my aggression, most of the animosity was coming from. You know, I was hot, man. Anyway, like I said in the book, you know, I'm not too much of a man to admit it. You know, my wife was, you know, she was special to me. Just like I'm sure anybody else, any other man that has a wife, you know, your wife is the most important thing to you in the world. They put me in that chair, they cut all my clothes off, they put a fucking bag over my head, and it was probably the best thing that they did, because when people came to that cell and they looked through that window, all they seen was just a naked fucking body with a fucking bag over my head. And that bag hid everything that was going on um within me. You know what I'm saying? I needed to let that shit out. I felt like, you know, my girl, even though I know that me catching that case and getting wrapped up the way that I did probably sped up her illness. You know, stress, when you're dealing with lupus, stress is the worst thing. I know that that sped up her death. Um, you know, I felt a lot of responsibility for that, but I also felt like when you lose your wife, man, you go through a sense of abandonment. You go through you're mad. You know what I mean? You're sad. You go through all these different emotions, man. It's different from losing a parent or from losing a kid, or, you know, they're different. But, you know, it was something that I had to let out, man. I had to get that shit out. Because up until that point, I didn't even want to believe it. I didn't even want to believe that she was really gone. It took me, you know, it took me probably like a week to believe it. I thought it was just some fucked up joke, or some, not even a joke. I just thought it was a way that people were you know, some a way that people were trying to use to kind of like trying to protect either her or me. That them knowing that I wasn't coming back, that, you know, the best thing to do is just make him believe she passed or something, so that he can fight his case or focus on himself. Your mind plays tricks with you when you go through that type of loss, man. I told you guys too in my book that, you know, like even when my mom passed, I didn't want to believe it. I kept calling her number for like a week until I finally, and I would get that same recording. It was her message, her on her machine. And I was like, man, maybe she ain't answering her phone, until I got that one message that where her phone was disconnected. To me, that represented her lifeline, and it represented that she was really gone. It was the same thing for my wife. It was the same thing for my grandmother. My grandmother passed. I kept calling for a week until I finally got that message that the number was disconnected. And again, to me, it represented that she was really gone. Anyway, you know, I'm gonna just say this, man. That sergeant that I got into with, he was a cool cat, man. You know, years later, like I said, I stayed in the county jail almost 10 years. Years later, I would end up running across him, and we kind of just like, hey, man, you know what? It was like, I was wrong that day, but I had a lot on my shoulders, man. He was like, I understand. I know what was going on. He was like, man, he was like, hey, it was just, I was the unlucky person that you just picked that day, but you were looking to get it off on somebody. So I'm not taking it personal. You know, that for the most part, I told you guys that, you know, I never did used to get into it with COs. I mean, I went through Susanville. I went through the days of when we had to go through our cell extractions, because that's what we used to do back then to protest some of the things that were going wrong within that prison. But as far as getting into it with COs, or whether it's a county jail or prisons, I never used to do that. Like I said, I understood the dynamics of how it worked. No matter what you guys say or think, or what people say or think that are locked up, it's their house. They run it. They got the keys. Yeah, you know, when we're there, we as groups, as different groups, in different ways, we do run the prisons to an extent. But at the end of the day, don't get it fucked up. They're in control. We're locked up. So I always understood that. And I always had to think what was in the best interest of the household, not just myself, not just my personal pictures, not just, I don't want my shit disrespected, but I had to think about the household as a leader. So those are really some of the only issues that I had throughout all the years of doing time was with, those COs and those incidents, the incidents that I talked about in the last episode. And that was because I allowed myself to get drawn in to, one of those officers, Bailey, that was confrontational and, was probably the kind of kid that got beat up and got his lunch money took when he was in school. I don't know. But anyway, that's basically the extent of it. And again, this situation right here, Lencho was the cause of it. But at the same time, there was also some other things going on within my personal life that really set it off. I was looking for a reason to take flight on somebody, somehow, some way. I wish Lencho would have accepted that invitation, though, to be my cellie. Anyway, this is episode 44. I got some other bangers now that I'm going to get out to you guys. These right here, I wanted to get out real quick because one of the viewers wanted to know if I ever got into it with COs or, some of the county jails, the officers that worked in those type of environments. So that's the extent of it. It all happened in the Santa Clara County Jail. Anyway, that's episode 44. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm going to try to get out some more content to you guys either tonight or tomorrow. I'm going to try to cut in Inner Demons, hopefully next. If not, I'm still doing my taxes, man. But if not, I hit you guys tomorrow. With that said, this your boy B, and I'm out, man.